Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward. Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast, Paranormal Talk with Heart and Soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded on United Public Radio Network 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast, YouTube, and any place you find your favorite podcast. Hello, my dear haunted hearts. For segment 79, I'm joined by Rodney Williamson. Rodney is a member of the Southern Pekuni of the Blackfeet Nation, and I do hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation, and was raised in the traditional ways of his people. He's also the host of the podcast Lodge Tales, where Native Americans share their strange and paranormal experiences. A returning voice in these important conversations, Rodney brings insight, respect, and authenticity to the world of the unexplained. So tonight, Rodney will be discussing the Goatman, a topic I really don't know much about, so this is going to be rather educational for me. So welcome, Rod.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on. So, for those that, first of all, I haven't had a chance to check your show yet, but I plan on it because it's something that's always interested me. So, folks, you guys have to check it out as well. Lodge Tales. Before we get into the show, can you tell the audience where they can find your show?
Yeah, Lodge Tales right now is being distributed by Spectre Vision Radio. So you can go to their site and find my fullest updated catalog there. And I also have the members only that they allow me to have on the side. It's over at Patreon. So all episodes are current at Patreon and over at Spectre Vision Radio. Unfortunately, right now, the YouTube part isn't up to date.
Okay.
But everything else should be Spotify. All of it should be up to date with the rest. But like I said, the only place you can get members only is going to be on Patreon.
Sounds good. So, folks, you heard them. Go check it out. So, I just want the first question in Blackfeet teachings. And first of all, I have to say that our mutual friend really schooled me because I always thought it was called the Blackfoot Nation, but he corrected me and said, no, it's Blackfeet. So for those of other people who thought that you were mistaken like I was, it's Blackfeet teachings. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. So in Blackfeet teachings, are there entities or spirits that could be misunderstood today as something like the Goatman?
No, not that I know of anyways.
Okay. So how important is it to distinguish between traditional knowledge and modern urban legends? Is there a distinguishing factor to that?
Well, yeah, there is, because say we're talking about mainstream sort of, I'll use the example of the SWs. I'll say it once, the Skinwalker. I'll say that one time. Here on out, we'll just say SW. So
Fair enough.
With them, people will think that they're a cryptid or something like that, and they don't really realize all it is a bad medicine person from the Dene, the Navajo Nation. They have bad medicine people, and for some reason they get caught up in this and they become a SW. And so, yeah, there are times where you have to kind of distinguish between mainstream and traditional, because they're all going to be basically what you have is urban legends versus traditional knowledge. Is I guess the distinction we draw there.
Okay. Yeah, SW, my daughter and I have always called it epidermis slow runners. Epidermis, skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I am superstitious. I don't want to be in its focus,
Yeah.
So do you
feel their focus? There are many of them. They're people. Sorry? They're all different.
Say that again. Sorry.
I said, not him as an individual. There's many of those. Yeah, there are even spirits are that too. The ones that have passed away, their spirit still haunts as a SW.
Oh, that I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah.
So do you feel?
Intense.
Yeah, I know. There's, and we have SWs up here too in Canada. But we, the majority of people who are aware of them do not say the name.
I would I would think there's something going on there that's not a skinwalker, because like I said, if that was the case, then there would have to be Diné people where you live, and they'd have to be kind of like
Oh,
hiding and living in
okay.
the community. They're
Okay.
just like us, but they have bad medicine practices. Think of them as how's another way to say it? Now I know this is really going to be like stereotypical, but I'll use this example, and I
Okay.
understand that it's not really a true one. But
Mhm.
remember in the '80s when everybody was all like, "Oh, there's satanists! Oh God,
Yes.
satanic!"
Yeah.
and they're all freaking out. Okay, that's really kind of how they're basically like the bad medicine of their tribe, you know. And
Okay.
like the
Gotcha.
Satanists, they're like the bad medicine of the church or something.
Okay. Yeah,
You
I
know, light and
gotcha.
dark. That's what they are.
Yeah.
They're the dark
Okay.
side of it. Mhm.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you feel stories like Goatman get misinterpreted with when applied to Indigenous lands?
You know, they could, but um, see that Goatman one, that one is everywhere. That one's like all over the place.
Yeah.
Where the SWs are kind of isolated by geographical region. Same with the little people. Those ones are they're everywhere too, but what separates them geographically is how they appear. They appear different depending on the geographic location you are in the world, because they're all over the world, right?
They are. Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like Bigfoot, depending what region of the
Mm.
world, different hair color, different facial features. It's just fascinating how you can have the same, I'm going to call it creature for lack of a better term, all over the world, but they can have just a few distinguishing features that are a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that see with the goat man and us, we don't have any traditional stories of them that I know of.
Hmm.
In my research, I've found that the elders talk about that spirit showing up here when the whiskey traders came. That
Hmm.
spirit arrived with the whiskey traders. So the this is my belief now, and
Mhm.
I've bounced this off a few of my spiritual, you know, like we all follow the red road together, you know, all of us kind of spiritual guys. We've talked about this one time, and we kind of all come to the consensus that it's an alcohol spirit because it showed up with the whiskey traders and we can't get rid of it. And when we asked, and when my friend asked an elder, like, what do you think it's going to take to get rid of this? And he
Mhm.
says, the day that there is not one drop of alcohol on the res is the day it'll leave.
Oh, wow.
So it's there, and it's everywhere because it's an alcohol spirit. Alcohol is everywhere.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's one of those that see the alcohol spirit. What they want to do is they want to take everything from you. They take, and they take. It's almost like they're greedy, but they also
Mhm.
revel in the suffering and all the negativity that you outpour. It feeds them until you finally pass away. They took everything from you, everything they could get,
Hmm.
you know, and they basically stole all your energy at the
Yep.
end, and you're done. They even push your family away. They make you poor, they make you suffer, and then when you're ready to quit, they'll bring it back. They'll bring more to you.
Mm.
Everybody will show up, or it'll just magically appear and you'll take it and you won't even know that it wasn't there a minute before because you're sick and you're inebriated and you don't know.
Yep.
So then they got you. You know.
I always thought Goatman was a lot older than that, like a very old tradition. Not tradition, but just
Yeah, he comes from overseas.
yeah.
He came here from the Europeans. They brought him here. He wasn't here. He
Oh,
followed
wow.
them.
Yeah.
He followed that alcohol. He brought them here. So now we have him here. But you know, this spirit is. Let's get into the stories about this. Okay, this story comes
Yeah.
from Ethan.
Please.
Ethan Running Crane is his name. He's a guy I know in my res. He says the story that he's heard in his family that's pretty common in his family is here was this bar called War Bonnet, and it was attached to a hotel. Well, one day these guys are standing outside, and the snow is just so deep, you know, really light snow, and they're standing outside, you know, smoking cigarettes and just kind of visiting. And this truck pulls up, and let me back up. This guy walks out to his truck,
Okay.
and he passes these guys that are all standing out there. Well, as he gets to his truck, he stops and he goes back to him and he says, "Hey, you guys want a drink?" And he said, "Yeah, go take a shot," because he had a bottle with him. He says, "Yeah, here." And he's like, "Good, pass it around. Each take a shot." And then that guy, I want to say it's somebody in his family, like an uncle or a cousin. I can't remember.
Mhm.
He said, "Yeah, I seen him." He said he was all, good looking man. He had a cowboy hat on and a trench coat. That's what he wore, and it was a long coat.
Hmm.
And we all start passing that bottle around. He says it was full. He gave us a brand new one. He says he passed it around, and by the time it got back to me, he says I looked at it and it was still full. He says, he said, "I was really getting a bad feeling about that guy. Like there was something wrong with him, man." And then I didn't think nothing. I thought, I'm just, being somehow that I probably didn't even realize whatever. He took another drink and passed it, and that guy started laughing at them, like just laughing almost uncontrollably. And those guys are all looking at him like, finally they said, "What's wrong?" They're like, why are you laughing like that? He says, "Oh, I just love it when you guys drink. Like, I love it. I love it when you drink. I just like seeing this. I like being here. I love it. Do you guys want to go for a ride?" They gave that bottle back to him, and when he gave that bottle back, heck, it was still full. And they're like, "No, man, we're not. Hey, we're going back in." Because then they start knowing that there was something. They sensed there was something, like bad, and so they went back in, and that guy just went to his, "All right, then you sure you don't want to go for a ride, huh? Shit, we can go anywhere I want. I got full tank of gas." And, we're going back in, and he left. Well, they went back out not too long after that. And they were kind of scared, but they stayed closer to the door and just smoked their cigarettes. But they looked down in that snow, and they seen their footprints, but his were all goat prints. When he went back into that truck, they were looking at him. They're, "Oh, Jesus," and so that's one sort of story that, and those stories like that are common. They're common. And why are they common? Because this man is always a good looking man. He always has a cowboy hat on. He's really generous, and he has a trench coat. And those are those types of Goatman stories. Okay, so I'll tell more of those kind of the actual man looking one. And so my friend that we served in the military together, grew up together and all that. His dad was chief of police. He became a police officer after we all got out of the military. And at this point, he was a sheriff's deputy. And the tribal police was so overworked that weekend that they couldn't send anybody to respond to a call of a man jumping in front of cars on a bridge. And the cars were having to swerve, and it was causing this really dangerous situation up on the hill's called Snow Slip. It's just west of the town of Browning on the Blackfeet Res as you're heading to East Glacier. That's the first bridge you'll pass. It passes over railroad tracks. There's railroad tracks right there. And so that's the bridge that guy was jumping out in front of. When my friend responds and he gets to this place, he parks off the side of the road. There's a safe place you can park on this road. Well, anyways, he sees him standing there, and he walks up to him. He says, "Hey," he says, "Are you all right? Can I help you? They say that there's, somebody jumping in front of cars. Is that you? Are you okay?" And that guy just looks at him, cowboy hat, trench coat, steps up on the guardrail and just jumps onto the tracks. And my buddy starts calling in. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got a suicide." There's whatever code that is. He calls in the code, possible suicide. And he gets in his car and he drives down to the access road under the bridge, and he's got his lights on, alley lights, and he's trying to light up as much as he can of this area. And he gets off, and when he gets down there, as he pulls in, that guy's standing way on the other side of the tracks, and he's got one of his legs up and one's down. He's got his head down, and he resembles the Marble Man smoking a cigarette.
Oh, wow.
And it's like on that side, there's like a wall, but there's like a pillar, and that's what he's standing by. And it's kind of like that. So he's looking at him profile view. And he says, hey, are you okay? Are you hurt? You jumped from there. Are you hurt? And all that guy did was pull his cigarette down and look at him. And he smiled at my friend. And my friend was like, that don't sound scary. But he said there was a movie that recently came out, and it's called Smile. That's how that thing
Oh.
smiled at me.
Ooh.
He says, when it did that, I jumped back and I had my light in my hand and I was going to try to like protect myself. I got scared. And he says all he did was slither. Now, I don't know how to interpret that. He says he slithered around that pillar. And when he went wide around looking for him, it was totally gone. And there's no other way to get out of there without being seen.
Mm-hmm.
So it just disappeared, that man. All right. Same guy, different time. This is by the gas station called Town Pump. And he was there was something going on that weekend. He said it was the prom or it could have been homecoming is what he said. He doesn't remember what event was going on that weekend, but there was a lot of people out. You know, it was a lively weekend and they were all on patrol. He said what we were going to do is kind of meet back at Town Pump and hang out in the shadows, kind of. That way, if we see people that are really intoxicated and they're trying to drive, we can stop them before they even go anywhere. Yeah. You know, that was their plan, to keep everybody safe that night. So before this, though, before 2:00 closing, he got bored and he picked up one of his friends. Like, hey, man, can you come pick me up, do a ride along tonight with you? Like, yeah. And he was an actual police officer, too, so he was off duty.
Oh, okay.
And he's doing a ride along with him, and he says, "Hey, I brought this with me. It was a mask that looked like a devil, you know, like the horns, the stereotypical image of a devil, red face and all that." He says, "Pull up to the back of that Town Pump. I'll put that mask on, and then I'll run up to that window and I'll peek in it real quick, and and he says, and then I'll jump in a car and we'll take off." He said, "Let's go scare him." Okay. So they're horse playing around. They do this and they head out. So it ain't much longer after that they're kind of still trying to kill time. There's a call that comes over from dispatch that there was a motor vehicle accident just leaving town. So they respond, and when they get out there, the highway patrolman's already in charge, and and the sheriffs are all out there looking in this field, and he shows up to help, and they say, "Okay, we got this covered, we think, but we need you to go back to the Town Pump and get the video footage so that we can see who he was with, because he keeps saying that where's that man? There's a person. We don't know who this other passenger was, so we need to, and if they're out in this field laying here and they're rejected, well, we need to know that, and also that it's such a busy night that we need to confirm there was somebody with him out here." So that's kind of where they were at, and they sent my buddy back, and he goes back and he tells this to the guy that's in charge of the CCTV, and he says, "Okay," gives him the make, model of the car, the description of the person, and all this, and he says, "Yeah, I'll look it up for you." He says, "Just give me your number and I'll give you a call once I get it all pulled up here, and that way you guys can still go out and patrol." Okay. So they leave, and not long they get that call. He goes right back and he walks in there, and that guy's demeanor is totally changed. He's like, "Yeah, we found the car and the guy you're talking about, but you're gonna need to see this first." Okay. And so he says, "What you're looking at in this image is our camera on top of the gas station, and it's facing the rear toward that window that him and his buddy scared that guy. It's pointing there. It shows their car come up. It shows his buddy jump out, run up to that window and scare that guy, and then run back." He says, "Now look at this image. It was higher up, and it's looking kind of like at the same angle, but it's covering different pumps. This pump was covering wide. This one's covering down." He says, "Now look at this one. The one that was looking down, there was a man with a cowboy hat and a trench coat, and he's got one leg up on that top of that. There's a little ridge, like a lip around it. He's got one leg up there, and he's kind of bent with an elbow on it, and he's looking down. And he's watching these guys come up and scare this individual and then run back away. And once he sees them scare him, the camera shows him go like this. Like he laughed like that, and he even kind of shook. And then he walks out of camera. And then he shows them the next camera, which is to the front where all the Bowsers are at. He shows them there. And once he puts that on, you can see that same guy standing there, and he's just watching all the cars like this. all of them, until he sees one that he really zeroes in on and is watching it. The guy that wrecked got out of that car. He parked at the gas bowser. He gets out of the car. He walks into the store. And that's when this man is watching him from the top. He's watching him. And as soon as that man passes in and goes into the store, this is all on CCTV. He steps off of the gas station and floats about halfway down to his car. At the halfway point, he turns into a green orb light. And that light floats to the rear passenger door of a 4-door car. And that back door opens. That light floats in. That door closes. And then this man is caught on camera inside. He's buying his beer, and then he walks back out and jumps in that car. And all of a sudden there's this accident, and they're looking for a passenger that they can't find. That guy told him, "Where's that guy? Where is he? He was here with me. Where is he?" That's the last thing he said before they loaded him up in the ambulance and he passed away from his wounds.
Ah.
Yeah, so this thing is not good. It never has been. It doesn't have any good stories to it. All it wants to do is take. And it did. Took everything from that poor guy.
Yeah.
Okay, same guy, same cop. This time he's working housing security, and they're renovating a subdivision on the reservation called Bedrock. We call it Flintstones or Bedrock. They're made out of brick. Yeah, so that's what we call them. Old Low Rent is the official name. But so they're renovating this, and behind there is a hill that leads up to that hill. It's snow slipped to where that guy was jumping off the bridge. It's right beyond there, right west of them. So they're down a little bit behind, and because they're up a little bit of high ground where they can see the whole subdivision. That's why they're parked up here. It's slightly higher than the rest. And the railroad tracks, like I said, are way over they go under that bridge. So from where they were parked, the railroad tracks would be about, if I was to guess, maybe 300 yards, about 3 football fields across a field. And then you would get to where they were parked. But the field is like a hill, a side of a hill. So, it would be kind of there. Well, anyways, this guy, this man, he was walking home. He came from town at a house party. And to get to where he was going, so the houses are in one kind of consolidated area, and then there's like this big coulee we call depot coulee. Mm-hmm. That's where the train tracks run up, and they cut it off, and there's a big tunnel under there, and that's where they say the Goatman goes. But anyways, as that guy was walking, he didn't want to walk the highway. You could walk the highway, but he thought it'd be quicker if he cut over to the railroad tracks and walked all the way to that subdivision that we call FEMAville. Yeah, we're really original. We were given those trailers by FEMA. So FEMAville. He's walking out to this place, so that's where he wanted, he was going home. But he was still sipping on his can as he was walking. And as he's on the tracks, there's enough night light that he can see. And there's a man with a cowboy hat and a trench coat sitting on the railroad tracks. And he's got a little tiny rope, and his rope in his boot. He'd pull it, and he'd pull it off, and he'd do it again. His rope in his boot. And that guy's just walking, trying to get home, and he sees him. And, because there's cowboys all over the res. There's cowboys everywhere. So he doesn't think anything. And he just walks past and says, "Hello." Just keeps walking, and "Oh, hello." And next thing you know, that guy jumps up and he starts following him. And he asks him, he said, "Hey, can I walk with you?" He says, "Oh, yeah." So where are you going? He says, "Oh, I'm just going home, just walking right over here." He says, "But yeah, you can walk with me." And he just keeps walking, sipping on his last beer. And that guy starts kicking his foot from behind. Like, say you're to kick your foot right on the bottom and it make you step higher.
Yeah.
That's what he kept doing to him. He was kicking his foot, and he said, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that?" And it kept bothering me. Like, "Shit, what do you want, man? Like, what are you doing? What do you want?" And that guy says, "I want to tie you up and cut you. That's what I want." And when he said that, he started fighting with him. he started rolling around because that guy, was like getting ready to lunge.
Mhm.
So he started fighting with him, and at one point he got knocked kind of a little away from him, or he fell a little away from him, and he got up, and that was the only space he had, so he started running. And the direction he happened to land and run in was the direction he just came from, like back to town.
Oh.
He was not going to go past him because, he was trying to hurt him. So he runs this way. And he's running for everything he has. And the guy's right behind him. And he keeps feeling burning. Like his back is burning. And that guy's behind him. When he'd look, that guy's just going like this to him. And his back is burning. So he finally gets up to where you could see the dome lights on where they're parked. He gets up there and he just starts banging on that window and yelling, and they open up, and he's just irate and telling them what happened. And by that time they call in the real police. The police actually call the ambulance. And this is when my friend was patrolling down in the subdivision, got up there as the cops and ambulance were all there, and he was telling the story. Is when my friend got up to them and listened. He said, that's all that happened to me there. And they said, well, we need to look at your back. And they pull up his shirt, and his back is just all cut up by like a knife. It's just totally ravaged, like just raggy.
Shredded. Ugh.
And so this thing, whatever, is not good, but the one thing you will see in common with everything on our res with it is people are usually drinking or they're gambling when he comes around. And there are more stories. There's even a story. Here's a place called Cowboy Inn. And the last time now see, these are non-natives that were in there too. And they were these stories come from them, not us. And they said that man walked into the Cowboy Inn bar, and those guys are just all ranchers. They go there for like 2-3 beers and they go home.
Yeah.
They're not like over there trying to paint the town or anything.
Yeah.
So this gentleman walks in and he looks at the whole crowd for a while, doesn't talk to anybody, nobody talks to him. He must have not been feeling it, so he walks out. But as he walks out, he tosses a coin to the bartender and just leaves, and that bartender's like, that was odd, but thanks. And he's gonna take the tip and just put it in the tip jar, and he looks at it and it's a gold coin. It's like gold, like real gold. And he's just looking at that guy like, yeah. And I wonder what did it look like? Do you still have it? Like I don't know, but
yeah,
apparently that's what happened. He tossed that guy the gold coin and he just walked out. Okay. That night, whenever everybody closed, they all walked out, and this is the actual any sort of good you could find in a story is here. That place burnt down totally to the ground, but it happened after hours, and nobody was there after the dude left.
That's a good thing. Yeah,
and it was really strange. But
the same night that happened, it burnt down.
Same night, he burnt it. Well, it burnt. They don't even know how it burnt, but it burnt. That after that man walked in there. And so these stories are all going to be somewhat similar with the man in the hat and the trench coat. Well, let's move on to a different type that it portrays itself as. So this type is, imagine me right here split in half this way. This half over here is a goat. This half over here is a man. And it's split vertical. So if I'm this way, I'm a man. If I'm this way, I'm this goat creature.
Yeah, that's good.
So this one here was bothering Colden Goss out in Femaville. And Colden Goss at the time lived with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's grandma. And he says how it first started was, he says, I was hearing things outside of our bedroom window. He says, so I got up and I started looking around. I didn't see anything out there. So I waited till the morning because it sounded like it was right by he said, I couldn't tell if it was a horse or what was out there. But I went out the next day and it was rain. It was a little wet. There was, there was mud here and there. He says, a little wet yet. And I go out there and I look, and he says, I see all of these human footprints, one side, just 1 foot. And on the other side is just a hoof. But I see these everywhere outside of my window, and it freaks me out. I don't know what to make of it. Like, because there's only one foot. I don't ever see the other foot step down, just one foot, but hoofs too. And only one hoof. He says, I don't see the dew claw or anything in those. It's just one side. Yeah, I don't see, like it's only one side of it. So he's like, I don't know, trying to make sense of this, and he doesn't really understand what's happening with it all. So he kind of goes to sleep and doesn't really think too much more about it. But slowly but surely, this thing keeps terrorizing them. At one point, he chases it. He's had enough. And so he's chasing it. And when you chase it, you have a pavilion out there. You have like an old pencil factory and there's like a construction building that the tribe owns. And like basically everything's dilapidated out there except for that one building that the tribe owns that still runs. Even the pavilion's like old and falling apart. So it's always said that he hangs out in these areas. Well, that's where he ran when Colden finally went out and started chasing him, because he's seen him, running around and like just, and it was during the day. He's seen him and he got mad and he started chasing him. He says, I was on foot and I have my rifle and I'm running. He's like, I thought I could catch him. He says, and then he start like doing weird stuff. Now you got to keep in mind, this is like a whole progression, and he's about at his wit's end. He's had it at this point. And he says that things start doing tricks when I was chasing it. So what do you mean? He said it started doing tricks, like it would run backwards and kind of laugh at me. He says then it would do these like weird cartwheels, but I could never catch it. And he would just laugh at me. Thought it was fun, and I was mad. He says, because it was laughing, I was getting more mad, and I was following it further and further away from my house. He said, till I finally realized I was over by those old buildings, and I turned around and I ran. I ran home. I realized it was leading me off, so I ran. He says, by the time I got to my house, he says, I was so scared because back behind me, I could hear it running behind me. And what was really freaky about it is I heard one human step in a hoof. He says, I heard that. It was the most terrifying thing. He says, I wouldn't look back because I thought he says, in track, if you look back, you lose time. He said, I didn't want to lose any time, so I just kept running. I got to that house safe, but it was right behind me. And so that was when he chased it on foot. He also chased it in his truck one night. He was so, just had it. And where he chased it to, now this guy's young. He would have had to experience this to know a lot of the lore. I mean, honestly, because there's not a lot of people that know that it actually runs to that tunnel. I mean, they probably do, now that I've been telling these stories, but that's where he goes, and that's where Colden chased him to, right? So I don't say anything that, in my knowledge about the Goatman, I'm just listening, and he's telling me these things that check left and right. Just check. Yep, that's how it is. And so when he chased it, he says, you know that tunnel down there, right? And Depot Coulee? I said, yeah. He says, that's where it ran. And I'm like, wow. So how that got resolved, because it didn't. It really didn't get resolved. But like as far as the Goatman, like, going away and like basically how we smudge bad spirits away.
Yep.
This was never resolved. They had to move. And once he moved, it quit bothering them. That was the only way that he got peace, was to move out of Themaville.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. Now, where he chased it to, let's go back to Mike. Now we're getting into the stories of where the Goatman appears as his upper half is human and the lower half is a bipedal goat, the rear end of a goat. Okay. So Mike Conley, he's out patrolling in his patrol rig one night. It just so happens that one of his co-workers had a fight with his wife that night, and he says, hey brother, man, I could really use the ride along tonight. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll come get you, man. Like, yeah, let's do it. Just stick by me all night. I get it. I know how it goes. Okay, all right. He says, hey, well, so where should we go? After he picks him up, and he's like, I don't know. He's asking my friend, My friend's like, I don't know. Maybe we should go check Durham. Durham is a cut across road from one highway to another highway, paved. You can cut this dirt track, and there's people that live out there. And it's to the west of Browning. This would be south of that bridge, but west of Browning. I mean, north of that bridge, but west of Browning. So as they're driving across this little dirt road, they get up to this place where these skunk caps live. That's their name is Skunk Cap. Right on top of that hill, it's kind of like a turn, and that's where they're going. They were just getting up to that. And this figure, about 7 feet tall, walks out in front of their car. He says, "Man, Rod, that thing took like 3 or 4 steps, and it was across that road. And then it just took like one more step and then a step over, and it was over that fence, and it started going out in that field." He says, as I seen that happen, he says, my buddy said, "What the hell was that?" And he said, "That's the Goatman." He says, and I hit record on my dash cam. He says, what was good about the dash cam is it will record everything 2 minutes prior to the event. So it'll back up. And he hit record and he goes up, he turns, so he's in the field that his dash cam is still on it, and they watch it walk out in that field a ways. And I said, "How did it look?" He says, "Man, what I remember most about it," he says, "it was so strange, was," I'm trying to find something that I could use to, he says, "was its eye. Its eye was right here on its head, and it was big. It was on, his eyes are on the sides."
Yeah.
He says, and it was huge. He says it was a huge eye. And he said, you can tell it had some sort of horns, but you couldn't really like identify them too clearly. He says, but you could tell there was something. And he said, I said, well, how did it transition like from its abdomen down? He says, man, it was this skin then hair. It just like, it was just an abrupt, it just changed abruptly like that, like he was wearing pants. He said, but so we had this on video. We would show any and everybody that cared to take a look at it. They could come up to the dispatch, and we had it there. He says, that old unit I pulled out that car, he says, it's really strange because all of the things recorded prior to this incident and after, we could download those, no problem. Put them into evidence if we had to, no problem. This one incident, we could never download it. Something was wrong with it. It was corrupt. But if we kept it there, we could play it as many times as we want. He says, until one day, we've showed everybody's seen it. And until one day, he said, the system just crashed and we never could recover it again. That's common amongst these types of things. It's common with paranormal investigators. It's common, to have your equipment drained or malfunction or just whatever. And it's them, they're doing it. They don't want to be, a lot of times they don't want to be known. And so
I always say, as paranormal investigators, keep the battery companies in business.
Yeah.
Well, I need to buy stocks.
The equipment too. There's so much equipment involved. But this is that version of it, was the top. Okay, so sticking along that version of it, the very first time I ever heard about Goatman ever in my life, I was just this little kid. I must have been about, I would say about 7th grade, if that. And we were in town at my friend's house, and his mom was on the phone, and she was like, really? That was giving us like, oh, look over there kind of thing. And we're just watching her, and we just stopped playing our video games. You know how hard it is to get kids to quit playing video games, and we're just watching her because of how she's acting and what she's saying. And she gets off the phone, and she doesn't even care that we were eavesdropping, because we normally don't do that. We never would do that. It's, you always feel bad when you don't do that. But she just like, you boys come here. She's like, that new subdivision, it's called Flatiron. She says, you knew that new housing that they made out there? And he said, yeah. She says, well, so-and-so got a house out there, and last night they were talking, all their neighbors up and down that street, they're all talking that the Goatman walked through their houses. This is the only time that I know of, story-wise, that there was an alcohol involved when this thing showed up. And they said what it did was it pretended that those houses weren't even there. It didn't even it didn't even acknowledge that there were people or houses there. It was just walking that field, oblivious to everything around it.
Yeah.
It's because the one couple family that was staying there, they watched it walk. And what I mean by it's ignoring all of them, even the height of the house. It walked on the ground, but it walked right through their houses. Like the houses didn't even exist. Just so when these people are sitting there in the living room, they see the upper torso of this thing just kind of nonchalantly walking through their house and disappears into the wall and out the window. Kind of, they all have this same story of that night it walked through their houses. That's the first time I ever heard about it. Now, the second time I heard about it, I was in boarding school, and I went back to boarding school the next year, and our matrons were telling us, hey, these things happened here over the summer, and it was all over the dispatch. The cops were here, and we don't know if we're supposed to be telling you kids, but we want to tell you kids just so you stay safe out here and there's no wandering around. We're gonna tighten it up here, and this is why. The police had cornered, so the building is shaped like two wings here with a center. You'll have like the big girls wing, a little girls wing, then the big boys, little girls, and it's connected by a hallway where there's all the offices and the rec rooms and stuff, the dining facilities, but the dorms are on the ends, and it's shaped like a high H and then an I if you turn it,
Oh, neat.
In that is where it was cornered. They had it cornered. They all pulled in there, all of their cars, whoever's on duty that night, they had it trapped right there. And everybody was scared to get out. And I don't even know why they were chasing it to begin with, but everybody was scared to get out. One female police officer got out to, I guess, confront it. And all it was doing was running, like nonstop, running around, bluff charge, and just scream at him. Run around like high anxiety and just scream at him. That's what it was doing. So she got out and she's standing there with her pistol, and she's got it pointed at it, and she's waiting for anything to happen. Don't know what, but I mean, what are they going to do? Arrest the Goatman? I don't even know why they're there, but so she's standing there, and this thing bluff charges her, and all the men jump out, and they just start opening up. They're just opening up on this thing, and all it does is back up a little bit and just laughs. Bluff charges, turns back and jumps 20 feet to the roof and is gone. That's the story I heard when I first got back. Second time I ever heard about it, when we reattended boarding school the next year. And that kind of brings me into my last story on Goatman here. I mean, there's more that I know of, but the ones that I feel like telling tonight.
Sure.
Mike Conley again. This time his BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs police officer. He served in many different law enforcement agencies. And one night he's patrolling, and it's a quiet night. He's young, and there's not much going on. Dispatch calls in and says there's a lady up in Chinatown. Yeah, we have crazy names for our subdivisions. There's a lady up in Chinatown that wants some horses removed from her porch. And so they we'll chase horses, I guess. So they respond, and he's almost there. There's a road that leads up to it, and he's almost to that. On this one particular road, he's almost there, and then he hears over the radio, "Holy shit, it's the Goatman." And when he heard that, he's like, "Oh my God." He's like, my heart start racing. Like I could feel like, ringing in my ears. It's like I turned on my lights and I start flying up there. He says, by the time I get up there, he sees it jump, and it runs down into Depot Coulee. And the guy that responded first was in a Bronco. So he starts following it off road, and my buddy comes up and sees it. So he takes the high road on this side. The other officer that responded is listening to their traffic. He goes way around. So there's two officers high, one low, and they're chasing it down this coulee. And this is at night, and they're going like 70 in this. Now, if you knew this terrain, you'd be like, wow. That ride alone would have been intense. So anyways, they get up to this big giant culvert. I mean, it's so big that I bet you anything, if you sucked up close to your horse, you could ride right through it on your horse. You know, it's that tall. And anyways, that's where it's running to. And it stops, and they're around it. They got it trapped. They all get off and they walk down the incline to look into it. And there's a little stream that comes out of it. But at that time it was dry. There was nothing. So they're up right next to the culvert and they're looking in there. And they got their lights, and that's when it dawns on them. Like, why are we even chasing this thing? Like, what are we doing here, man? They're all looking at each other, and they start looking in there. They're right next to each other, all huddled up, looking in with the flashlight. And this thing is sitting there. It's crouched. It's like taking a knee, what we call it in the military.
Yep.
It's taking a knee, and he's just watching them. And as they flash that light on him, it goes like this.
Oh.
And once it did that, now this is the half man, half goat version from the bottom, right? And my buddy says, well, you got to understand, military and a lot of natives, we use humor when we're scared. That's just how it goes. And he tells one of his buddies, go in there.
Nope.
That broke the tension. Oh, piss on you. I ain't going in there. Yeah. That's cool. Let's get out of here. I don't know why we're here, but we need to get out of here now. So they all left. But see, these are the stories that surround this thing. And there's also a story of the giant one. There's one that used to terrorize a family up in Alaska. And this one it was just a goat, a black goat. But it was so huge that when it was laying on its haunches or on its belly, its horns would scrape the ceiling. It was horrible. But so there are many versions of this that appear. And those are the ones that I care to share tonight. But I understand you wanted to kind of touch on the little people thing too as well, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, it's another topic that really fascinates me.
Sure.
But before you get there, though, I just want to mention that I didn't realize that Goatman had so many different looks. It's pretty fascinating.
And it's a spirit. It's a spirit. Yeah. People might say, "Oh, it's a cryptid." No, we believe it's a spirit. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, the little people.
Yeah, the little people, the oaks at the peaks. They're Well, we put it this way, they're really powerful, but there's a lot of balance within them as well. There's good, there's bad, but they're really powerful spirits. Why are they so small? I have no idea. Because Blackfeet way, they're about 1 foot tall, and they're totally proportionate. They're just, imagine a full-grown human, just a normal-looking human, but shrunk that tall. And they dress really old, like their clothes. They don't even have beadwork. A lot of times it's quill work. It's that old porcupine quills.
Yeah.
Dyed porcupine quills for beadwork. They dress really old. And they're like a snapshot of the 1700s, 1600s type Native American, you know?
Yep.
And what my tribe for years and years, and okay, so this had to have happened about at least right after 12,000 years ago, right after 12,000 years, is when we got one of these medicines that we still have today that helps us. I really don't care to go into what that is, but we were given these gifts by the Creator at this time. And during that time, not too much longer after, the people that were taking care of that type of medicine were also charged with growing tobacco. And we never grew tobacco. We weren't farmers. So that was the only thing that we ever grew. And when we did, my ancestors, when they did that, they made an agreement with those little people. Those little people, they have, to this day, they have tobacco societies where they interact with them, and they have agreements where they still have interactions like that, sacred interactions. And they're the ones that would take care of the tobacco for us And then you come back, you would leave that spot and you would migrate. By the time you come back the next year, then all that tobacco is just lush because of that ceremony and that agreement with them. They took care of it while you were gone, and they cultivated it. And so that's one of the interactions that we've had with them. Like I would consider major type interactions we've had with them. That was one of them. And it's still going on today. And the other ones are, there are certain medicine people that have folks at the peaks as helpers. They will come see, and when that happens, you can't lie to them. Like you might come to their ceremonies and there's little people there too, but those little people are with that holy man, and they're already told him. Might be an hour or two before you got there, they already told him who's coming and why they're coming. And see, because a lot of it is tests. Like when you're approaching those elders, you can't lie. That's a test just to see if you're honest. Just a simple, So when they come in, and the other reason is like, it's not just to be honest. They want to get to the bottom of what's really ailing you, so they try to root it out.
Gotcha.
And those spirits will tell them. They already know, but they have to ask. They'll ask you these questions, and so like a lot of times you'll see the younger people try to lie, or like because they're nervous or they're unsure. And they always get called out for that. But anyways, so sometimes they have them as helpers. Sometimes they do things for them. Like provide certain sorts of medicines. Because in our way, there are 3 types of medicine. You have the physical, then you'll have a combination of a physical and a spiritual. Then you have this straight up spiritual. They help with those last 2. Anybody, like all Western medicine, that's the low level medicine that we're talking about. That's what we have today. Surgeries, all that. That's the lowest level medicine you could ever have. And then one step above that is having all of that physical side, but there's also a spirit there that's helping, and it's navigating and making everything else work. And then there's that kind that they doctor you. They don't even have to be in the same state. They could be so far away from you, but those spirits don't know. There's no distance to them. It's not like that to them. So they can do wherever they, go where they want. And I've witnessed this personally. I witnessed a woman being doctored in Alaska. The medicine man was in Montana. And I witnessed this. And it baffled the doctors in Alaska. They couldn't figure out how that woman's foot was healed. They had her scheduled to amputate toes, but she kept them. So anyways,
lucky.
Now, folks at the peaks, that's where we've had this interaction with, and they're really powerful beings, and some people have them as helpers. Now, there's also a time. How are we doing on time, by the way?
About 5 more minutes. Yeah, 53. Okay. So, yeah.
Last story, guys.
Okay.
Save the best for last. There was a boy who wanted to go on the war party with all the men. The men hadn't been to war in a long time. They were all jumping at that chance to go, chomping at the bit. His dad was the war chief, and he asked him if he could go with him. This boy was about 14 years old. His dad said, "No, not yet. Let's try again next time, maybe next year." And that boy insisted. He says, "No, I want to go. I really want to go. I'm going to go with you." And you're not going to go. They all left, and that boy followed behind, sneakily followed behind. Well, he got caught. He was spotted, and his dad told his brother, the boy's uncle, "You're the only one I trust to take him back. So ride back with him, and then catch up, and you'll probably be, back in time before we ride down on them." He says, "Okay." And so he left, and here he tells that nephew of his, "I waited a long time for this, and you had to come here and mess it up." He says, "I'm not bringing you back. You go back right now, and if I catch you following us, by the time I catch up, I'm going to ambush you. I'll hit you in the head with my war axe, and I'll leave you in a coulee." He said, "You better not follow us. I mean it." And he left. And so that boy keeps following, and his uncle sees him. And true to his word, he ambushes him and pushes him in that coulee after he gives him a traumatic brain injury. And so he's laying there and he can't move. And he hears the coyotes coming.
Uh-oh.
And he's worried. And when he was smaller, he used to play in those coulees with those coyotes, bring them meat, play with them. Those are his friends.
Yep.
And as he's laying there, all of those coyotes are coming. He could hear them getting closer. Now they're right up to him. And he starts talking to them. He tells them, please don't eat me. Like, take pity on me. I took pity on you guys. I used to feed you guys. I used to play with you. And they parted, and an old man coyote came up. And it spoke. It said, what this boy says is true. I remember him. I remember him. We're going to help him. And so he started asking that boy, what happened here? And he told him the whole story. And he says, okay. He says, just lay still. And he starts singing. He starts doctoring that boy. And that boy come back. He could get up, move like there was nothing wrong with him. Skull was fixed and everything. Nothing wrong. So they doctored him. And he said, now we're going to teach you this different song. You're going to need to sing this song someday to prove something. So remember that. And this song also allows us to travel fast, and we're going to catch up to your dad and your uncle. And so they taught him that song, and at the end of that song, all of those coyotes, see, they were little people, and they were all doctoring him and little people. And then by the time they were ready to go, that song changed them into coyotes so they could travel fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's those coyotes, those little people they have medicine to go into a coyote like that. And so they taught that boy how to do that, and they catch up to that battle. As the battle's raging, the Blackfeet bit off more than they could chew. They're getting whooped. And they go flying into that battle. Well, those spirits never allowed them to see them. They couldn't see them, but they were there and they were fighting. And so what the Blackfeet were seeing was an enemy just fall off of his horse somehow and then just like land and get killed. They didn't know how it was happening. Mm-hmm. That bad uncle said, you see that? That's my war medicine. That's me. I'm doing that. And the Blackfeet won that battle. The tide turned. And so once that was done, that boy and all of those little people, they traveled fast, and they got back to the camp, and they waited for them on the outskirts. And by the time that camp came, that group came back in, the whole camp was excited, and they were celebrating. They were singing honor songs and everything. And that bad uncle was still bragging about how powerful his medicine was. So that boy, I had it. I'm going in there to tell him the truth. So he walks in there, and that uncle was so surprised to see him, like he saw a ghost.
Yep.
And he says, Dad. And his dad hugged him. He said, I need to tell you something. He says, I'm happy to see you too, but I need to tell you something. And he tells him what his uncle was doing. As he was explaining it, the uncle was saying, no, don't listen to him. He's just a kid. He's just saying anything. Mm-hmm. An elder came out and says, what this boy says is really powerful. We need to listen to him to see what really happened here. And so that uncle got shut down. He couldn't protest anymore. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that happened, that boy starts singing that song.
Yep.
And that's when all of those coyotes, they came in and they were weaving between people's legs, and they surrounded that boy where he was sitting. When he got done with that song, all of those coyotes turned into little people in front of everybody. And that chief of those little people, that old man coyote, he told those folks, he says, what this boy says is true. Again, it's true. This boy speaks truth. What you guys don't understand is when we went and helped in that battle, this boy here, he fought harder than everybody there, even fought harder than us. What he did when he got there was he tied his leg to a savasberry bush so he couldn't leave. He was staked to the ground. He couldn't leave. And he fought harder than anybody there. Because of that, we're making him the honorary chief of the little people. and we're going to give you guys these gifts. And they gave them the bundles that go along with that society.
Mhm.
That today we still have that society we call the Crazy Dog Society, or the Brave Dogs. That's the society we were given by them. So the little people are real. The little people are powerful.
Yeah.
And if they trust you and you can make it right, they'll help you.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you so very much. I could listen to your stories for hours.
Well,
That's
let's do it again.
definitely, yeah. I'd love that. But yeah, I really appreciate your time and sharing those stories with us. I know the audience appreciates your time as well. And yeah, we'll have to definitely have you on again soon. So that's so fascinating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I'll just take you out of the studio for a moment, just say my farewells to the audience, and then we'll chat a little bit if you have time.
Mhm.
Thank you. Wow, that was amazing. So I just want to say a huge thank you to my special guest, Rod, and to you, my wonderful haunted hearts, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans and 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. And if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It truly does mean the world to me. And if you'd like to be on the show, you have guest or topic ideas, or just want to say hello, drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. And I'd also love to hear from what country you're listening from. So until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Much love to you all.